I heard from someone this week who was being hoovered back into the relationship and she was really struggling. How do we know here's the big question that all of us want to know. How do we know someone has actually changed? And when is it just lip service because they don't want to lose us? So today we're going to talk about the 3 worst reasons narcissists want us back in the relationship. And if you stick around till 4:50, I'm going to identify all 3 reasons if we haven't already broached on them. But I'm super excited to be with you today and to talk about narcissistic abuse, about hoovering, specifically about hoovering, why people hoover their partners, what is going on in the narcissist mind when that's happening. And we're going to also then talk about how to deal with that. I actually have a strategy. It's not mine, but I have my little take on it. So I heard it from someone else. I'm trying to remember where I got it from, but it's a very effective. So if you actually feel like you have to give something to the narcissist or the toxic person in the relationship, if you feel like you have to say, this is why I'm not coming back, and put the ball in their court, I have the perfect way to do that. We're going to talk about that as one of the techniques to do in this topic about hoovering. So I'm so excited to be here. We are right now streaming across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So I see my favorite people here again, like Billy Tarr's here, as well as Kim's in the room. I see Daniel and Strawberry Banana. Really love that, and that's a great name. Hope 22 is here. I'm super, super excited that you guys have joined me on this live because we're going to be talking about hoovering. Now, Tamio, another big name in the house. Thank you so much, Tamio, for being here. How many of you guys were hoovered? I'd love to have you put a heart emoji if you experienced hoovering. I did. Mine hoovered me. I didn't know the term. I never heard of it. Knew it wasn't on the up and up. Oh, there the hearts start to show up. Thanks, guys. Oh, Janine, yes. Yeah, 5 months after, huh? Mine was a month after. We had left, and my opinion, he even signed a paper that said that this is how we're going to divorce and how we were going to kind of move forward. And then, and next thing I know, he's coming back and kind of saying he wants to work on things. Oh my goodness, guys, all the hearts are coming in. Make sure that you like this episode, that you share it. And YouTube, I'm sorry that I look like I have this really dark tan. I don't know what's going on with my camera filter. It's really it's given me sort of this look like I've been in this. I mean, I have a bit of a tan for me, but I look really tan in this video. So I apologize for that, but I'm so excited you guys are here. So is anyone being hoovered right now? I would love to know if any of you at this moment is experiencing the pressure to come back after a really toxic relationship, after you know in your mind that this person is not to be trusted, that they definitely don't have your best interest at heart, that there's not a loyalty to you, a commitment to you. Are you right now struggling to be hoovered? I'd love to have you share a little bit about what's going on and what's happening so we can talk about it. The situation I'm aware of is that this person says that they're doing a lot of great effort. They started going to therapy. They've gone to their partner and say, please, can't you consider it? Look at all the hard work I'm doing. Look at the number of sessions I've been to. Why won't you consider it? It ends up being when we're in that situation that it becomes sometimes for some of us. I see some of you like, no, I just blocked them. I got out of that relationship and I blocked them. And you're right. Dawn Marie, that's a good way to sort of protect yourself from that. But sometimes they get creative, like they create new counts, or maybe they have a new email that you didn't know about. And then the next thing you know, you're hearing from them. Or maybe this is another way that they love to do that. They'll enlist family members or friends or other connections that you have. And then those people will circle in and say, really? I mean, he's really a nice guy, or she's really a wonderful woman. Why are you being so harsh? I mean, is this fair for you to do this? I mean, have they deserved that? I mean, the pressure that you get, it gets really, really intense. Yeah. So I'm reading the comments. A lot of comments are coming in. Oh yeah, Chrissy said, mine's trying to hoover me back after being punched in the face. Sheesh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that you went through that. Exactly. It is exhausting. Leslie says, I'm tired of the batshit crazy man and I'm tired of talking about it. It's great that you're here, Leslie. I'm glad that you're here and you're getting support despite the fact that you're fatigued of the situation. And here's the other thing that we need to be thinking about. It doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. It can also happen it happens between parents and children. Can be happen between. I had grandparents get a hold of me just recently, talk about their situation with the grandchildren, feeling like they were caught between a terrible place because they wanted to stay connected to the grandchildren, but they were being threatened to lose that connection if they didn't some way fall in line. So hoovering doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. I just posted a video about proposing that maybe even the way that the family system, that maybe some of the dysfunctional children's roles, familial roles, like the scapegoat, is actually part of a narcissistic cycle. Now, I'm not saying every family that has scapegoats is narcissistic or has a narcissist, but I do think that there's dysfunctional systems. And I think that there can be this way in which idealization and then devaluation and the discard happen. But in these families, it happens repetitively. So that the child who tends to be the targeted one might go through a period of where they've made up, things seem to be better, and then all of a sudden they'll slip up in some way, and then they fall out of favor, and then the families are sort of like psychologically, without throwing them out, they psychologically, emotionally throw them out before they start the cycle over again. And this child can go through this cycle multiple times, learning that relationships are unstable, that trust is something you can't bank on because it's temporary. They may learn that that you really never know where you stand with somebody because things are constantly in flux. So I see that this thing of hoovering is not just exclusive to romantic relationships. I think that it can be manifest in lots of different ways, lots of different ways. So I would love to, yeah, I would love to hear how your story is, and then what is the biggest conflict that you're having with it? What makes it difficult for those of you who have not, maybe for whatever reason, maybe there is a children involved, and you can't just cut the children out because there's this, you're still negotiating, it's still legally, there's a lot of legal involvement. What can you do? Oh, interesting. So, someone just said he hoovered me last week by on my birthday. So, I really picked a great day where you're a little more vulnerable. Maybe you're feeling, you're sensitive and you're feeling a little like maybe even having some grief about that. And then he offered money to go shopping. Yeah. See, they will do that. They will take something that's really important to us. Maybe it's the integrity of the family. Maybe it's feeling loved by them, knowing that we were chosen by them. It's it'd be something that's really pivotal to you, and then they'll dangle that. Yeah, they'll dang. In fact, you're right. Right, this person ruined her birthday. They'll dangle that out in front of you as a way to keep you hooked, keep you off balance, but nothing else than just to make your day not good, just to kind of ruin that day. I don't know if you guys saw the video I just put up with, it was an interview with Dr. Les Carter. So if you're not aware, I have a podcast called Breaking Free from Narcissistic Abuse. My co-host is Tara Blair Ball. If you don't know Tara, it's Tara.relationship coach. She's amazing. And her and I just interviewed Dr. Les Carter. He has this massive following, incredible guy. He's a psychologist. And so he's been around a little longer than me, but he's been around a long time. And he said this, he had this fascinating quote in the interview that really stayed with me. He said, when they're doing something harmful and you feel this urge to say, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you lying to me? Or why are you stealing? Or why are you cheating? Instead of the to me, he said, drop the to me and just say, why are you lying? Why are you gaslighting? Why are you stealing? Why are you screaming at me? Or why are you screaming? He said, the at me, drop the at me. Because the behavior, the interesting thing, and this is what psychologists all agree, whether you listen to Dr. Ramani or you do research out on the topic, most psychologists will agree, and myself as well, is that narcissistic people don't see other people. You're just a prop in the movie. You're just a stand-in, fill-in person that they swap out. Exactly, Kim. They want, or exactly what the Grey Walk is cooking. What a great name. You're just a stand-in for that moment for stabilization. And as a result, yes, they target you because you're there and it's happening with you, but it's not this intimate connection with you that you think it is. Hey, Giant Slayer, so good to see you today. So it's really easy for us to think this is This is personal about you. And unfortunately, it's so terribly painful when we realize in a personal way it is not about you. Then you end up being really harmed and hurt because you thought this relationship was significant. It's significant to you, but you find out it's not significant to them, that you were just, like I said, one more prop in the room that they swap out. If you are in the middle of trying to leave a toxic relation and struggling, this is what we talk about in the book, First Steps to Living a Narcissist, First Steps to Living a Narcissist. This is the workbook that accompanies the online course by the same name. And this really helps you kind of get through the confusion. So if you're struggling with the confusion, like what's real? They say they love me and they do the most crazy crap that makes no sense and that people who love us wouldn't do. When you kind of you sit there in this horrible bind trying to figure out what's real, I went to such extremes. I didn't recognize myself. I actually one day, and anybody who's been around me knows this is really not me. I'm kind of this disciplined, careful person. I'm not somebody who just kind of cuts loose. I just don't do that. It would be, I even give an example that I don't even like getting buzzed. I don't even like that feeling of that being out of control like that. But I got to the point where I followed him. On foot, I followed him across this small town to the other side to see what he was up to and who he's meeting. And I'm thinking it the whole time is, who are you? Who are you? Why are you doing this? Why do you need to catch him? You already know he's up to no good. Why do you need to catch him? So if you recognize yourself with that, you're struggling with cognitive dissonance. And this is a really great way. This book, this course, the links in my bio is a really great way for you to be able to break it. If you also don't know if you're alone, if you feel like you must be the craziest person and nobody could be living your life and that you're out of a movie and that you're not for sure this is actually true, I wrote a book story. It's really vulnerable because one of the things I get criticized for is how could a psychologist, how could somebody with 20 years practice have this happen to them? And I'll tell you, writing this book was scary. There were scenes in this I thought, no, I'm not going to share that. It's just too vulnerable. I feel too stupid. I feel too ashamed. But I thought, you know what? You all need to know the truth because this is not just happening to me. It's happening to you. So check out my story called Love You More. Love You More is a graphic memoir. It's a true story of what happened to me. This is what actually happened. You want to know the event from start to finish of what happened in that relationship? And I'll tell you, I admit, this is the thing about, in fact, the hoovering is in the middle of the book. It was sort of the dark night of the soul. And when that happened, I kind of entered in a hero's journey, there's where you realize you're leaving the real life and entering to this not real life. And that was obviously meeting him. But then you think that you're getting things on track and you're going to figure it out. And then you hit this new thing that brings you into like the dark night of the soul. The hoovering for me was that dark night of the soul. I discovered that what I thought about the relationship was actually something completely different, that it was even worse than I imagined, and that my battle out was going to be harder than I thought. And so it's really vulnerable. It's and it's hard. It's hard reading. I try not to read the reviews too much, and I appreciate you guys who have written, thank you, Angela Love Life, who said I bought the book or you're going to buy the book. I have over 330 reviews now, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes reading people like, wow, I hope she's really stupid. I hope that she's figured it out now. I mean, how many of you guys have heard those types of things about you? Like, yeah, I hope she's doing better. So it's, and I wish I was stronger. I mean, I wasn't I didn't feel strong. And I think that's true for a lot of us. I think most of us in this abusive relationship feel really broken down. And that's part of the trauma bond. So there's 7 stages to a trauma bond. And near the end, you feel like yourself has been annihilated. You're now lacking confidence. You've submitted to the abuse. You've submitted to the redefinition of yourself. You feel hollowed out psychologically. And it's a very, very awful place. So that's what you're seeing. What the outside world doesn't understand is they don't understand that you started out thinking you met the greatest person in the world, that then this person subtly started criticizing you all for your good. They tell you all for your good. And then they start to gaslight you that what you think and feel isn't really actually real. And then they start to like really move on and become exploitive. And it really like just it messes with you psychologically. And then you got the cognitive dissonance, which is causing actual neurological damage to your brain. So you're now not functioning normal. And you kind of you slowly give in to this. And so you can see it. You can see this book in the book that I slowly give in. Yes, it's available digitally. It's available as a Kindle. It's right now. It's available all across the stores, but I'm moving exclusive to Kindle and to Amazon. So it's available in hardback, paperback, as well as digital. And it took me 3 years to write it. Man, it was that was part of my healing. Part of my healing was writing the story, telling what happened. It helped me to know what was real, and it grounded me. I made massive revelations. I made discoveries that I didn't know. I mean, I knew something was off, but and it didn't quite add up. But when I put it on paper and read it over, I mean, 3 years, I did 9 edits. This book went through 9 edits. So as every edit, I would read these material again, and I would go and make some big discovery and go sob for a while, and then I'd come back and work on it. It was very, it was very cathartic and very painful, and it was very raw. So I want to warn you, it's a very raw book. So some people say they can't put it down, and they read it literally in 2 days. It is written like a novel. It's not written like a psychological book, like you're going to hear me as a psychologist. In fact, I'm thinking about, and I'd love to know what you think. I'm thinking about writing a companion to it that gives you my take now that I'm 4 years away from what happened. I've been divorced now 4 years. And now that I know all that I know about narcissistic abuse, to actually explain what happened, how it happened, why it happened, give you the words, tell you what was going on behind that. I'm thinking about circling back and writing it. I have some reservations because it'll be hard. And then of course it's always the practical piece, like how do you want to do that? I mean, how do I kind of I always like I'm very logical and sequential. I start at the beginning and I go to the end. But I like, well, how would I set it up? You know, I'm kind of thinking what would be the way that I sort of maybe just say, hey, it's been 4 years and this is what I've learned. And I'd like to give you a psychologist's case formulation. That's what we technically call it. The inside look, the breakdown of what happened to make sense of myself as if I was my own client, to make sense of myself. So yeah, you guys are saying do it. You need to do it. I think it would be interesting. I think it would be a great companion book to it. It would be really, and it would answer the naysayers who say, "Wow, you're really weak." Well, yeah, because that's what happens to all of us. So let's circle back to. One other book that I want to tell you about is. So I said this is what happens in this. This is what it looks like. This is how to make clarity. If you're in it right now and you're seeking clarity, there's a online course, and this is the companion workbook. If you buy the course, you get the workbook, not paper. You get a digital version. But if you want a paper version, it's on Amazon. And then this, if you're trying to recover, this book is the book Surviving to Thriving. Lisa, Sunny, and I wrote it together. And it's the 6 obstacles that survivors struggle with when they're trying to heal. And I'm launching a group coaching this fall called Healed and Empowered that's going to take 12 weeks and talk about guilt and how to grieve and what do we do with the rage, the leftover rage that we have no place for it to go. What do we do when we feel like we've lost pieces to ourselves? In fact, I just finished Joe Navarro's book called Dangerous Personality, and he says when you've met one of these people, something inside you dies and it's gone. So how do we grieve that? How do we like I know for me, one of the things that died is innocence. My innocence died meeting that psychopathic narcissist. So you all probably feel like something has died within you. So what do you do with that loss? And of course, you've lost your time. Maybe you've lost money. Maybe you've lost custody of your kids, or at least the access you've had to your kids. Maybe you've lost some of your health. Maybe some of you are struggling with health issues that you didn't have before. What do you do with all those feelings? We're going to talk about that in Healed and Empowered group coaching that starts this fall. You know, a lot of you want to know how you can have consultation with me. You're interested in having therapy with me or or spending time with me. And you probably, those who've been around me enough to know that I'm not doing that anymore. That's not the best use of me. But if you really want to have that direct access, live direct access for 12 weeks, this is a way to be able to have that for much cheaper than you would ever probably, yeah, much, definitely much cheaper than you would have to ever pay for a whole month's worth of counseling with me. So if you're looking for something like that, please consider joining this group coaching. Again, the links are everywhere. I've made sure to put them. So let's back to hoovering. Why do they hoover? Okay, so I know I said I would talk about it at 450, the 3 worst reasons why narcissists hoover. I will definitely do that, but I want to give you a technique. This is a technique. If you're being hoovered right now, I'm going to give you a technique on what to do if somebody is manipulating you and putting the screws into you about that you should consider taking them back. Okay, are you guys ready for this? If you guys are ready for this, drop me a 1 in the comments. Let me know that you're ready. This is going to be powerful, guys. And I have some do's and don'ts around it because there's some things that are super important around, and you can use it with whoever's hoovering you. Say maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's a friend, and is really like begging for a second chance. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Okay, so here's what it is. I want you to write down on a piece of paper, this is for yourself only. You never share this with anybody, okay? So wherever it's private, I want you to write down 6 to 10 things that you would observe that would tell you this person has profoundly changed. So maybe imagine the healthiest relationship you can imagine, and what would that person be doing in that healthy relationship that this person's not doing? Let me give you some, for instance. This A great one would be this person always shows up when they say and where they say, and they always are where they say they are all the time. You never find them in some place they didn't tell you that they would be. They're predictable. They're very boringly predictable. And you get proof of that everywhere because people tell you that they show up and do the things that they say that they're doing. There's no unaccounted time that this person, that might be one of them. Another one, and this is one I want you to put near the top, they never pressure you to have the kind of relationship they want until you're ready. They don't bring it up. They don't hound you. They don't bother you. They don't beg you. They don't whine at you. Every person, I'm sorry, I got Billy, you're like, what color on the bottom of the screen? I have no idea what color you're seeing at the bottom of your screen. Anyway, sorry, I got thrown off. So you would never feel pressured by this person to take them back. That's another one I want you to add to this list, okay? So those are some examples, but they need to be observable. So what do I mean by that? That means that if I was to peek in through your kitchen window and saw you guys doing something, I would know what it was. So in other words, don't put things like, I want them to I want to have fun. Well, what is that? How would you quantify fun? Maybe you would say, this person initiates regular efforts at least once a week to do something with me, to like do an activity with me. See, that would be an example of fun, that you've quantified fun. But I want you to make sure that it's not things that you can't define, like happiness, fun, peace, makes me feel loved. I mean, those things, people don't know what you mean when you say that. Your definition of that may be completely different than somebody else. So it's got to be something that's observable, measurable, something that you can say, yep, this is happening, or no, it's not. So I want you to create a list of 6 to 10 of these, okay? So you put this privately, and this person says, I want to make it up, and I want to have a relationship with you again. What I want you to do is I want you to say, we're not going to have another relationship. I'm not re-entering this relationship for a set amount of time. And it's going to be longer than the two of you want, okay? Longer than you're probably comfortable with. I think a minimum of 3 months, and I really would prefer that you guys stay not in a connection with each other for 6 months. I know that's hard. Certainly not what the person who wants back wants to hear, which is part of the point. You don't want to make it easy for this person. You want to give them time to show that things have really changed. So set a time limit. Say, I will reconsider this it's got to be somewhere between 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there. And then you say, and I have 6 to 10 things that I need to see changed. You say the number of things that you expect to be changed, but I'm sharing 3 of them with you, and I will never share the others with you ever. But I'm watching to see if they change. And then you share 3 of them, and one of the 3 you share is the one about no whining, pressuring me, or begging or asking me if my mind has changed. That's gotta be one of the 3 that you share. And you share whatever 3 you want, but you never share the other ones on your list, not ever. And then you watch. You wait out the time, maybe you mark it on your calendar, and when that day comes up, you say, "Hey, let's meet, let's talk about it." And then you realistically appraise, did this person complete that list? Now, what you're gonna find is people who are antagonistic or cluster B or on the toxic end don't have the tolerance for this. They will find this exhausting. They don't like the fact that it's nebulous because you took all the control away from them. You've asked them to have integrity, to do a lot of self-reflection, which they're lousy at, and they don't like because that makes them feel ashamed. So this is going to quickly weed out anybody who's not able to do that. Oh, thank you so much, Angie Love Life. Anybody who's not able to do that, you get weeded out because this there's so many things about them that they can't do, they won't do. They'll probably you'll know really fast that this person's not invested. But here's the best thing about it. This is why it's so effective. You've put the ball in their court. They now can't say you're the one being difficult. You'll say, well, no, I've told you exactly what I need. Really, it's all up to you now. You've you've stopped the arguments. There's nothing to argue with because every time if they bring it up, you're like, well, that failed. I guess you're really not interested in this relationship. But even if you didn't give this to them, every time it comes up, you can say, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting to see how serious you're going to take this. And then you just look at them. And chances are there's nothing they can do. So, you know, but what's great, it takes you out of being the bad guy because they love to do that switch. They love to say that you're the bad one because you're not being nice and you're not being kind and you just don't understand. And I mean, they love to take the victim role and make you be the hurtful one. And this is a really easy way to be able to flip the script on them and put them into the position where they have to be the one that makes it, they have to be the one that changes it. So I love to see if you try this, come back and let me know how it goes. Chances are we won't have to wait long. We'll know pretty fast. I'll tell you, one of the things that really hit me hard is, I have to do continuing education all the time as a licensed psychologist. I have to keep my license current. And so I'm always taking education. And one of the education I take on was repair for a relationship post-affair. Now, for those of you who know my story, who have read Love You More, or right now who are getting the book, several of you just told me you just bought the book, Love You More. You'll find out that I was in a relationship with someone who was quote unquote a sex addict. So he was having multiple affairs, lots of cheating was going on. It was awful. It was really, really devastating. But, he said, quote unquote, he was working on it. No, he wasn't working on it. And I'll tell you what was so validating for me was taking that continuing education course it was 6 hours on how to repair a relationship after an affair. And what I heard this psychologist break down, and remember, she's talking to just all relationships. And by the way, affairs happen a lot in a lot of relationships, not just in narcissistically abusive relationships. But so it was interesting for me to compare what happened in my relationship with this narcissistic abuse versus what just a good healing after a cheating looks like. And he did none of it. There was no sensitivity to my feelings. There was irritability that I was upset. It was not allowed to be a topic I could revisit. I wasn't allowed to be triggered or upset or activated when he did anything that was remotely similar to something that looks like cheating, which he was cheating. He never stopped cheating. So I had reasons. My gut was right. But all the things that let's even put it this way. If you did something terribly offensive to another person, say that you really messed up somebody's life, what would you do to make it right? I bet you it's more than the toxic person in your life has ever done. And I bet you would know what it would take. But isn't it amazing how we get talked out of holding that line? That's what really boggles my mind. I know what the lengths I would go to make it right. And yet, why did I not hold that standard with the abusive person in my life? Because it's not like these aren't mysterious qualities. it's back to this is it. It's not that I'm weak. And that's the thing. They love to flip it and make the victim. Oh, it's because you guys don't have good boundaries and you just don't know how to say no. And you just aren't really good with that block fast enough. No, it's not. That's not the problem. The problem is that that predatory people, toxic people are highly effective at using our emotional vulnerabilities against us, our hardwiring for belonging, our fear of abandonment and rejection. They're extremely effective at using things that are hardwired, innate in all of us, and they use this in order to manipulate and exploit us. And that's what we don't understand about predatory relationships. So part of getting healed and getting better is learning to understand exploitation so that you can get stronger. And I'm thinking after this 12-week group session of Healed and Empowered, which is about healing. So if you're looking to jumpstart your healing, that would be a great way to do it. But I would love to know what you guys think. I was thinking about doing a 12-week group session on spotting exploitation and manipulation better so that we can hold the line better. Because I know that's where I suck. They tap into my conscientiousness or tap into my agreeableness or just make me feel kind of guilty and icky. Somebody I don't really like make me feel bad that I'm not being good enough or kind enough, and then I get swung into it. So I'm thinking about following up with somebody said, I don't think anybody would be interested in that. And I thought, no, I do a lot of content on dark psychology and on the mind of the predatory mind. I think that if we were to look at people like Gavin DeBecker's work and Joe Navarro's work, as well as Don Hennessy's work, really look at the strategy, the grooming that happens and how to spot it faster, how to touch into our intuition. I think that would be fascinating. So yeah, if you're interested, please let me know, because I'm happy to build it out and to work on this if I know that there's interest. It to me is really, really important to know there's interest. But I know I'm interested. So I'm okay, this would be something I mean, yeah, definitely me. I'm signing right up for that. I would really love to do that. Yeah. Oh, you're right. 48 Laws of Power. Absolutely. Well, who's the name of that? Rob is that I'm blocking out the name. Who wrote that? It's an awesome book. If you guys aren't familiar with Greene, right? Can you put in the name of the title, the name of that author? Yeah, Robert Greene. If you guys are not familiar with Robert Greene, the 48 Laws of Power, as well as he also has several, like The Art of Seduction. He has that book. Those books are all about, in fact, some of them have been banned from prisons. That's how effective they are. He gets into talking about how predatory relationships happen. He sort of bases it on historical documents. So he goes all the way back into way back, like The Art of War, all of this kind of thinking about how to know your enemy and then how to sabotage people. So very good. He's right. Yeah. Those books again are the 48 Laws of Power. There's another one that has to do with control. And then The Art of Seduction. He wrote that book. It's by Robert Greene. You can find him, by the way. He is on social media. So you guys just can put in his name. And she did spell it correctly. It's with Greene. So there's an E on the end of it. So look for him and you can find him on social media talking about these topics. It's fascinating. So yeah, I hear that you guys are definitely interested, and I got to find it. Laws of Human Nature. That's the other one, right? The Laws of Human Nature is another one. I own most of his books. They're really, really good. Very good books. Yeah. 48 Laws of Power, Laws of Human Nature, The Art of Seduction. All of them are fantastic. He really breaks down the mindset of a predator and just human nature, not even just a predatory, but just how we're bent to be manipulative and exploitive. Okay. So I said I would talk about the 3 worst reasons why narcissists hoover, and I want to get into what that is. Here's the 3 top reasons. Can I book recommendation video? Can you do a book? Oh yeah, Kate, that's a great idea. I will do that. I will take one that just talks about all the great books that I think are out there that are awesome and why I think they're really, really good books. I'm heartbroken over Jackson McKenzie. Oh man, 34-year-old man. Jackson McKenzie, for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, wrote the book Psychopath Free and whole again, because he definitely would make my list. And he's no longer with us. He passed away in June. So it's just heartbreaking, just heartbreaking. It just is a reminder that just because somebody is an author or a writer or a thinker about these topics, that we're not immune to the pressures, that we're not immune to what happens psychologically. He said he lost the bout to a brief struggle with depression and anxiety. So yeah, I'm feeling emotional just saying that. I don't know the guy, but I'm just sick about it. So it's terrible. We need to all stand together. We definitely do. Okay, so the 3 worst reasons why narcissists hoover. The first is because they are, and I want to do a little back. I don't want to just tell you what they are. I also want to kind of tell you why they are what they are. Narcissists have a fragile core, which means that when you look at the normal things that are important to have run a good life, like you need to show good judgment. Like maybe today you were at the store and you're living on a budget and you're going to run out of money by the end of the week. So you need to prioritize what you spend on. That would show impulse control. It also would show good judgment, and it would be some self-reflection. Narcissists tend to struggle with having strength, like ego strengths like that. So what happens is they act impulsively and they don't show good judgment. And sometimes they struggle with self-reflection. They don't always have good insight. So imagine it's the best way I can think of it, because my late husband was in construction and built things, is that you built a foundation. You built a building, like a big building, on a bad foundation. And that's what our ego functions are like. So they include things like empathy, the ability to be vulnerable, knowing your limits, controlling what you want to do when you shouldn't, controlling yourself, showing discipline, being self-reflective and knowing why you do what you do, pausing and knowing how to soothe yourself when you're upset, know what you feel and know how to kind of step in and soothe yourself. Now, all of us are not perfect at all of these. It thinks of them like rating scales, each one. Like you may be really, really good at empathy, but maybe you really struggle with self-soothing. So we're all kind of like up and down, up and down. But a narcissist is going to show, or toxic people are going to show a lot of deficits across a lot of them. So in the relationship, and this is why they go from relationship to relationship, they're looking for stabilization. So imagine again that house. One time, my dad, grew up on a farm. We were at a barn, helping a barn that was coming down. It was crumbling, coming down. So what he did was he actually put it up on jacks. He jacked it up, put it on stilts, stabilized the foundation so that he could then pour a new foundation underneath. Relationships are that to toxic people. We are the foundation that they build their life on, and they don't do a great thing with it because they're antagonistic. So they undermine us. They don't let us really run a good life for them, but they count on us for some things. They count on us to think ahead about some things. They count on us to help them make their day go. And they count on us maybe to break boredom and maybe for their admiration or the attention, but they count on us. They build themselves on us. So when they leave you, they discover, even though they may be in a new relationship, that they've missed the things that you brought to their life. They missed that. And so they want you back because they want you to stabilize their life again. They want you to become the foundation, the concrete base to their life again. They're going to use you for that. So that's the first lousy reason why they want you back, is because they don't want to take accountability and responsibility. Probably the new person isn't doing those things quite the way that you did. So they want you back to do the things that you used to do. That's lousy reason number 1. Lousy reason number 2 is because they don't want to run out of supply. They need to have a long kind of list of people kind of built up. And so they want to make sure that you don't disappear. Like when we block them, we disappear from them. They want to keep you on the hook so that if something goes wrong with one of these other relationships, they can swing back, or maybe they're just bored, or maybe it's a lull time because between seeing people or getting the new relationship up, they want to be able to swing back and take advantage of what you guys had in order for you guys to connect. So part of it is that they want to keep you on the hook like third string. You're think of the football team. You're not on the first string anymore. You're probably not even in the second string. They want you on the third string. The third lousy reason, and this to me is the worst one. This is the one that really this is dark. This is really uncomfortable. They don't want you to do better. Okay, think about the time that you ever had an important job and somebody else came in and replaced you, And that department that you were in, that person replaced, started doing better after you left. How does that feel? Feels really bad. It tells you that probably there's some things that you weren't doing, that maybe you weren't as creative, or maybe it wasn't the right personality fit, but it just feels icky. You don't like that feeling. Well, narcissists feel that way about us moving on with our life. They don't want you doing well after they leave you. They want you to be in the worst position than you were while you were with them. Yet, you know what? Because we are being abused, we're going to then do what? We're going to glow up. And as a result of that, we then prove to them, we affirm to them that they were making our life a mess. So they want to sabotage that. So they circle back and get back into the relationship as a way to sabotage it. That's the third worst reason. There are many other reasons I can think of. One of them is that you offered some asset that now that they don't have from the new relationship. Maybe it is you, I don't know what it could have been. Maybe you brought influence to their life, or maybe for me, the guy wanted more money. That was what it was for me. He wanted more access to my money. He didn't have any money. I did have money, and he wanted me to continue to pay for his cushy life. But maybe it's the great sex in your relationship. Maybe it is the way that you make this person feel. Maybe it's I don't know what it is, but there's something. So that's another reason why they do that. And here's another really awful reason is that and this is subtle. This is another psychological reason. They want to degrade you. So when you leave and get away from them and start to do better, they don't like that. They want to make sure that you know that you're not all that. God forbid you start to look like you're doing well. Then in their minds, they see that like it's not a competition. I'm not saying it is, but they see it like a competition. So then they want to kind of circle back and make sure that even though you aren't trying to do this, that you're not all that. So they want to circle back to be able to put you back into place for you to know that you're not all that. That's another lousy one. Is that they have a need to stand on us. They like to stand on us. And so if there's anything that they see that looks like you may be getting a little bit of big head, or you might be like doing better, maybe you're losing weight, or maybe you've started to take better care of yourself, or anything that they think they're like, oh, this person's kind of, they don't remember who they are. I need to teach them a lesson. So they'll circle back and they'll get you back into the relationship to hurt you and to degrade you, so that you are reminded that that is not true. That is not true. So those are there's 5 worst reasons why narcissists want to hoover. I hope I've given you enough to consider. Never, never accept it. Please don't. It's never for good reasons. It really is never for good reasons. I kind of, because I'll be vulnerable, really, really vulnerable again. So many of you guys are saying you love my book, Love You More, so much. I appreciate that. I have to admit, when he hoovered me, I wanted him to choose me. I wanted to know that he chose me. I wished he would have loved me. I now know the guy never loved me. I don't think the guy loves anybody. It's not that he loves other better than me. He just doesn't love anybody. But I wanted to be loved. I mean, that's not a wrong thing. We all want that. And you're not wrong for wanting that. That's part of that hard wiring. It's built into our nature. And that's what's so not good about this. You know how predators learn how to spot the vulnerability in their prey? Well, human predators know that our sense of belonging and our need for love and our fear of abandonment and rejection are great ways to hook us, really effective ways to hook us. And so that's what they're utilizing. And it's universal. This is not to me or about you. This is universal. We are all that way. Oh, somebody asked why to call me Love You More. I'll tell you why I call it Love You More. It was a game we played. So, and I hated the game. I hated the game. He wouldn't tell me spontaneously, I love you. I usually had to be the one that said it first. So I'd say, I love you. And then he would come back and say, I love you more. And then I'd say, no, I love you more. Just wanting the game to be done for him to know that I loved him and for it to be a sincere moment. And he goes, no, I love you more. He always had to make it a game, like a competition. So, for me, and it hurt me when he did that. And so what I did was I even bought a plaque. I had a plaque in our house that said, love you more. And I tried to make it like something funny, like it was a joke between us, but honestly, it was not a joke. He hurt me when he did that. But I now know that it was his way of always having one up on me. He had to be the winner. I also know that it was a way for him to sort of put me down and he was withholding himself from me. So it was a way for him to be avoidant, not really close, to be avoidant, and not be vulnerable. He wasn't vulnerable. It was, my late husband and I mean, I was married 31 years, knew him 33 years. My husband and I would sometimes play that game, but my late husband would come and tell me how much he loved me. He would spontaneously tell me how much he loved me a lot. And it meant a lot. So it wasn't just something that happened every time I said it. He would say, "I love you too." Is what my late husband would say. I'd say, "I love you," and he'd say, "I love you too." Or sometimes he'd say, "I love you," and I'd say, "I love you too." So it wasn't. But once in a while we'd do this little funny thing where we'd say, "I love you more," but it was not a regular thing between my late husband and I. But it was with my ex, that the narcissist. That's why I named the book "Love You More." It's because it's ironic. I mean, if you see the front, if you can see the front, hired a graphic designer for this. It's a picture of a guy, and she's seeing this. She's seeing he's having an affair, and yet he says he loves her more. No, he doesn't. The whole front, it's cognitive dissonance. It's the lie. It's so, I love it because it's so paradoxical. It's a lie. The whole thing was a lie. The whole relationship is a lie. It wasn't any truth. Yeah, I think it's a great name. It was I struggled and struggled. Here's one of my other names. I never shared this. Let me share you the other name of the book. For a long time, I called it Confessions from a Sex Addict's Wife. That was the betrayal of me, Confessions from a Sex Addict's Wife. That was the first title. And then I decided, no, it's not really about sex addiction specifically. It's really more about what happened in this really awful relationship. And at the time, I didn't know about narcissistic abuse, believe it or not, when I wrote the book, which is another reason why circling back will be really interesting, because I didn't know all that I know now. But then when I kind of I heard the interview with the author who wrote Little Fires Everywhere. And she was on Brene Brown's Unlocking Us way back when that first series first started. So if you want to hear a great interview, there's two of them. They interviewed Carrie Williams as well as Reese Witherspoon, who is in the TV series, but then they also interviewed the author. And the author said that it wasn't until like the third or fourth edit that somebody said the theme of fire was in the book over and over. There was fire in the book. And she said, "Oh," and then that's when she said, "It's Little Fires Everywhere." And I thought, oh, okay, so I need to look like, what is the theme in the book? Well, the theme in the book is paradox. It's the deception. It's the lie. And then I thought, love you more. You would always play this love you more game. And that's how the title came about. That I knew it was like, once you find the right title, it's like, there it is. It works. That's the title. I'm sorry I was running late today. I know this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video. Please, for those of you who are looking to jumpstart your healing, consider joining my group session. It's going to start the end of August or 1st of September. It's called Healed and Empowered. I'd love to have you guys be a part of it. If you haven't considered coming to the retreat and being with Ro of Roller Coaster in Love and Lisa Sunny, Stronger Than Before, we are now more than half sold out. So we are we're getting close to selling out. So you want to be able to do that. I would love to see you there. And and unfortunately, it's for women only. And Billy, I'm just looking at your name. I appreciate you listening. And thanks for saying that. Healed and Empowered is the name of the group coaching. It's open to everyone. It's open to everyone, men and women, anybody who's struggling with healing after a relationship. This is really a great way to do that, to jumpstart it. And you get to hang out with me for 12 weeks. So I would love to have you. And I will be back here next week on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. I'm always here. I'll try to be on time and not let it go late like I did. How does it work? It is you join by a Zoom link, or actually we're going to be doing it through a link like Zoom. And we show up each week. Will be discussion time. There will be some exercises. You probably have a little bit of homework. We'll come back the next week and we'll do the next topic with a little bit of education. Again, a discussion time, do some exercises and do some homework. So that's how the group coaching will work. It's live. It's at 2 set times. You can choose either Thursday evenings or Saturday mornings. And it will be for 12 weeks. So I'm super excited about it. And thank you, you guys. Scrap Along, you asked a good question. How do you love a person who never loves you back? You can't really love them. I mean, you can love them, but you'll never be loved. It won't be a mutually reciprocal relationship. Unfortunately, it's very painful. All right, you guys, I will see you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. The link, by the way, is for the group coaching. It's in my bio. If you go to my bio, and if not, just go to my website. It's right on the website. It says group coaching. So you can't miss it. Group coaching. All right. Hey, have a great evening. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Thank you so much. And bye-bye.